Welcome to a series of videos which I hope will help you to revise effectively and get the grades that you want and hopefully you deserve from over the year. This first one is about planning your revision, because if you don't plan it before you start, there's not much point in doing it. So let's see how you can do that effectively. The first thing to look at is two distinct styles of revision. One's called blocking and the other's called interleaving. Now, blocking basically means that you have lots and lots of topics, and you can see them here, and you do one big block at a time, and then the following day you move on to another block, and the following day on to another block, etc., etc. So at the end of a week you can see you've had one large chunk of each of those blocks. Interleaving is far more effective. What you're doing is you're having a look at small bits of each topic every single day. So if you've got 6 topics or whatever, your Monday might have topic 1, 3, 4, 6, etc. And then you're doing the same thing the next day and the same thing the next day. And the reason that's effective is because when you learn something, we tend to forget it very quickly. So that first block that you looked at, within 6 days you won't remember it. But if you've seen it the next day, you're remembering more. If you've seen it 3 days in a row, you're remembering even more. And by the time you're seeing it 4 days in a row, you're remembering almost 80% of it. So it's a much more effective way of learning, even though the spaces seem shorter, or the amount of time seems shorter. In order to interleave your work, you've got to break everything down into chunks, okay? You can't just put media as your revision. You've got to make sure that you've got it all chunked down. So for instance, in AS media, you might have the key concepts, and you might have codes and conventions as a chunk, representations as a chunk, etc., etc. You've got the cross-media study, that's a big one. Synergy and convergence, the effects of different media platforms. All of those could easily represent one chunk of your media revision. And then you've got to plan all of these interleaved sessions. Now, I would never do more than an hour. In fact, I'd probably do half an hour of smallish chunks so that they're interleaved together. If you do an hour, or if you do 2 hours even, then I would try and make sure you do about 6 chunks within that 1 hour or 2 hour session, and that should give you plenty of time to revisit them the following day, the following day, the following day, and by that time it'll start to go in. So what do you have to do to start with? Number 1, break down your subjects into chunks. Number 2, start planning all those interleaved sessions in a schedule that you're going to stick to. Make it realistic. You need to build in breaks as well. Make sure that you're not working for more than half an hour at a time, because your brain stops taking anything on board. And finally, also make sure that you build in exercise, good amounts of sleep, and get your diet right. If you're not physically fit for the exams, there's no way you're going to perform at your best. Hopefully that'll get you started.